They told us Africa was behind. But they never told us Africa is rising. This is your bridge back to purpose, power, and possibility. Subscribe now and step into the story that was always yours. A message to the diaspora. Why now is the time to reconnect with Africa: investment, identity, and the future. They say home is where the heart is. But what if your heart was scattered across oceans, carried away by ships, and buried under centuries of silence? What if you never knew the taste of your true soil, the rhythm of your native drum, or the language of your ancestors? This message is for the African diaspora, to those who have roots in Africa but branches far from it. Whether you were born in the Caribbean, in the Americas, in Europe, or elsewhere, this video is your call. A reminder, a signal, a message from the motherland herself. Africa is not just a place on a map. Africa is a living, breathing spirit, calling her children home, not just for nostalgia, but for purpose. This is your time, a time to rediscover your identity, a time to heal from generational loss, a time to invest not only in land and money, but in legacy, a time to be more than a witness, a time to build. Let's begin. Let's talk about the invisible bond, the one you might feel when you hear a drumbeat in the distance, when you smell spices that stir your memory, when you watch a film about Africa and a tear falls, even though you've never set foot on the continent. This bond is not coincidence, it is heritage. Many Africans in the diaspora were disconnected violently from the continent through slavery, colonialism, or migration born from war, poverty, or opportunity. Over generations, this separation turned into silence. Names were lost, languages forgotten, traditions erased or diluted. But the spirit remained. That's why so many black people around the world feel displaced, not just physically but spiritually. In countries where they've lived for decades or even centuries, they're still seen as other, still fighting for dignity, still pushing for acceptance. And so the search begins. A search for self, for meaning, for home. Reconnecting with Africa is not about abandoning where you live. It's about completing the story. It's about turning a broken lineage into a circle. This reconnection doesn't have to be dramatic. It can start with learning, with listening, with asking, who am I really, and where do I come from? It's not a fantasy. Africa is real, imperfect, dynamic, diverse, and it wants you to see her for who she truly is, not who others said she was. Because when you connect with Africa, you don't just find a place, you find a piece of yourself. Let's shift gears. Beyond the emotional and cultural connection, there's a practical, strategic reason to turn your eyes toward Africa opportunity. The world is changing. Economies are shifting. Traditional Western markets are saturated, over-regulated, and increasingly uncertain. But Africa is rising. Did you know that 6 of the world's 10 fastest-growing economies are in Africa? Did you know that by 2050, Africa will have the largest youth population in the world? This isn't just potential, this is a coming wave. Let's talk investment. Real estate urbanization is exploding across cities like Accra, Kigali, Nairobi, Dakar, and Lagos. Housing is in high demand. Diaspora returnees and locals alike are looking for homes, offices, and rental spaces. Technology Africa is experiencing a tech boom. Startups are building mobile apps, fintech solutions, e-commerce platforms, and digital education services that solve real problems on the ground. Diaspora investors are funding the next wave of African unicorns. Agriculture. The continent holds over 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land. Smart farming, organic produce, export crops. Agriculture is a gold mine, waiting for innovation and ethical investment. Tourism and hospitality. African heritage tourism is growing fast. Diaspora travelers want authentic experiences. Boutique hotels, eco-lodges, travel companies, all can thrive with the right branding and service. Green energy. From solar startups to community microgrids, energy is the next frontier, and Africa is positioned to leapfrog old models and go straight into clean, sustainable power solutions. So what's stopping you? Many in the diaspora worry about scams, corruption, and instability. These concerns are valid. That's why education and due diligence are key. Start small, research, partner with locals you trust, use diaspora networks and verified platforms, attend investment expos and forums, visit first before sending money, build relationships, not just transactions. Remember, you're not just investing in profit, you're investing in legacy, in ownership, in changing the narrative. Africa doesn't just need foreign capital, it needs diaspora capital, investment with purpose, with love, with long-term vision. You don't need to jump into relocation or business immediately. Sometimes the first step is simply visiting, seeing, feeling, understanding. Traveling to Africa is more accessible than ever. Major airlines fly direct to key hubs like Addis Ababa, Johannesburg, Accra, Nairobi, and Casablanca. Visa policies are becoming more diaspora-friendly in many countries. But here's the thing, don't travel like a tourist. Travel like a seeker. Explore the culture, attend a local ceremony, learn a few words in the local language, eat street food, talk to elders, ask questions, listen deeply. Here are some of the best destinations for members of the diaspora looking to reconnect, invest, or simply experience. Ghana. Known for the Year of Return and Beyond the Return campaigns, Ghana offers deep cultural roots, powerful slave heritage sites like Cape Coast Castle, vibrant music, and a welcoming atmosphere for diaspora returnees. Senegal, a spiritual and artistic hub of West Africa. From the soulful experience of Gorée Island to the buzzing streets of Dakar, Senegal offers rhythm, resilience, and richness. Rwanda, one of Africa's cleanest, safest, and most forward-thinking nations, known for its development model, ecotourism, and reconciliation journey. South Africa, a nation of diversity with stunning landscapes, a mix of African and global influences, and powerful historical significance in the fight for liberation. Tanzania, home to majestic Mount Kilimanjaro, the spice-filled island of Zanzibar, Serengeti safaris, and a Swahili culture that speaks to deep East African heritage. Kenya, a blend of modern cities and ancient cultures. Nairobi is a tech hub and home to vibrant diaspora communities. Kenya offers both opportunity and natural beauty in abundance. Botswana, one of Africa's most stable and well-governed countries. Known for its low corruption, strong economy, and breathtaking natural parks, Botswana offers peace, investment potential, and a quiet sense of pride. The Gambia, Africa's smallest mainland country, but big in heart and history. The Gambia has become a popular relocation and retirement destination for African Americans. With English as an official language and a rich coastal culture, it's a gentle introduction to West Africa. Travel smart. Research before you go. Respect customs. Avoid flashy displays of wealth. Tip fairly, dress appropriately, be humble. You're not there to discover, you're there to reconnect. And as you explore, ask yourself, could I live here? Could I do something meaningful here? Could this become part of my story? For some, the connection becomes so strong, they decide to return permanently or at least long-term. Relocating to Africa is a big decision. It requires planning, flexibility, and courage. But thousands are doing it, and thriving. Who should consider relocating? Remote workers who want to live affordably and meaningfully, retirees seeking peace, nature, and cultural roots, entrepreneurs looking to launch impactful businesses, families wanting their children to grow up with identity and community. Where should you go? It depends on your goals. Some cities offer comfort and infrastructure like Nairobi, Cape Town, and Kigali. Others offer raw opportunity and low competition, such as Banjul, Lusaka, and Kumasi. You'll need to research visa and residency options. Many countries offer special programs for the diaspora. Housing, rent before buying and visit properties in person. Healthcare and education. Private clinics and international schools are available in most urban centers. Cost of living varies widely. Some places are cheaper than the West, others are not. Expect challenges, bureaucracy, power outages, internet instability in rural areas, cultural adjustment. But the rewards? They're profound. A slower pace of life, community belonging, organic food, nature, cultural immersion, emotional freedom. You don't have to move all at once. Start with 3 to 6 months. See how it feels. Build slowly. You are not running away, you are returning with intention. Relocating to Africa is not for everyone, and that's okay. For some, responsibilities, careers, children's schooling, health systems, or simply life circumstances may not allow a full move. But here's the truth. You don't need to relocate to make a difference. Even choosing Africa as your regular holiday destination can have a massive impact. Each trip you take helps in several powerful ways. Boosting local economies. Tourism fuels small businesses, artisans, food vendors, and service industries. Every dollar you spend, when spent wisely, empowers someone's family. Changing perceptions. When you share your experiences online, post your photos, and tell your community about the beauty, peace, and culture you've witnessed, you challenge outdated narratives about Africa being poor, dangerous, or undeveloped. Creating cultural bridges. Even short-term visits help build long-term relationships between the diaspora and local communities. Over time, these connections grow into partnerships, mentorships, and collaborations. Personal healing. For many in the diaspora, visiting the continent is deeply emotional. Standing on ancestral ground, listening to familiar rhythms, tasting homegrown food, these moments can restore pride, clarity, and purpose. So even if you only visit once a year, or every few years, do it intentionally. Treat your holiday as a sacred return. Spend time with locals. Skip the five-star bubble sometimes. Go into the villages. Support Black-owned businesses. Learn the real stories, not just the tourist brochures. Africa is not a theme park, it's a living legacy, and your presence matters more than you know. Identity, healing, and legacy. What Africa restores. Now let's talk about something deeper. Beyond money, beyond business, beyond travel. Let's talk about identity. One of the greatest wounds of slavery and colonization was the erasure of self. Entire generations grew up not knowing their lineage, their tribal names, their languages, or their ancestral beliefs. Instead, they were told what to think, how to speak, and who to be. But something remarkable is happening. Across the Black world, from Brazil to Barbados, from London to Louisiana, people are searching. They're doing DNA tests, learning African languages, studying Black history, wearing traditional attire, practicing African spirituality, reconnecting with roots. Why? Because the world is loud with noise, but the soul is whispering, go back. Africa gives you something the Western world often cannot, a sense of belonging without explanation. You don't have to justify your hair, your skin, your history. You're not a minority. You're not a threat. You're not a statistic. You're home. And when that healing begins, something shifts. You begin to dream bigger, to walk taller, to raise your children with clarity, to feel powerful without needing permission. Legacy begins with identity. When you know who you are, you build differently, you speak with confidence, you lead with vision. This is what Africa offers, not just opportunity, but origin. The power of the diaspora: influence, capital, and global leverage. Let's get strategic for a moment. Do you know how powerful the diaspora truly is? The African diaspora, including African Americans, Afro-Caribbeans, Afro-Latinos, and Africans abroad, generates over $1.4 trillion in annual spending. Every year, the diaspora sends over $50 billion in remittances back to Africa, more than all foreign aid combined. Diaspora communities shape global culture: music, fashion, food, sports, and more. Politically, diaspora votes can influence foreign policies, trade deals, and international perception of the continent. That means you have leverage. What if more diaspora dollars went into land and local business instead of just temporary consumption? What if more of us demanded better representation in African embassies and consulates? What if we created diaspora investment funds, development cooperatives, or Pan-African tech ventures? This is already happening. but not at scale. You don't need to be a millionaire to contribute. You can sponsor local students in Africa, collaborate with creatives and entrepreneurs, launch YouTube channels that educate others about the continent, bring global attention to African brands and artists, invest in ethical tourism or agribusiness, and mentor young Africans online. Small acts from the diaspora ripple outward. Your skills, your networks, your resources, all of these can uplift entire communities when used with wisdom. The point is this: you are not powerless, you are not disconnected, you are not an outsider. You are a key part of Africa's future. Final message: Africa needs you, but you need Africa too. So, let's return to the heart of it all. This is not about charity. Africa doesn't need saving. Africa needs partnering. The motherland is not weak. She's wounded, yes, but she's also wise, young, energetic, full of fire, and she is rising. Africa is building cities, satellites, and startups. She is telling her stories. She is reclaiming her narrative. She is negotiating her place in the global economy. But the journey ahead is not easy, and it's time for her children, her diaspora, to stand with her. Your talents, your vision, your healing, your voice, all of it matters. Reconnecting doesn't have to mean relocation. It can start with a visit, a call, a business idea, a reconnection of spirit, a return to your name, your roots, your purpose. Africa is not a fantasy. She is not a victim. She is not just a place. She is you. So the question isn't, should I go? Let's get practical now. You've heard the message, you've felt the pull. Maybe you've even visited Africa already or connected online with others who are making moves. But how do you actually start? Start small, but start intentionally. If you're in the diaspora, follow African creators, businesses, and educators on social media. Diversify your feed. Learn the different realities of African life, the beauty, the challenges, and the opportunities. Next, connect. Join Diaspora African networking groups online. Attend cultural events. Ask questions. Seek out African professionals and entrepreneurs in your city. These relationships often open doors to collaboration and even business. And when you do decide to visit Africa, don't just go on vacation. Go with a mission. Maybe your goal is to find local artisans to partner with, visit a tech hub or startup incubator, explore property options in emerging regions, research school systems for your children, interview local farmers, teachers, or youth for a content series. Each trip can have a purpose, even if that purpose is just to listen. Because here's the truth. You don't need millions to make impact. You need clarity, consistency, and community. If you're feeling inspired right now, don't let that energy fade. Hit the subscribe button so you stay connected to powerful, eye-opening content just like this. Share this video with someone in the diaspora who needs to hear this truth. And drop a comment below. What's stopping you from reconnecting with Africa, and what would it take to start? Let's have that real conversation in the comments. Now let's spotlight the real stories. These are people just like you, people who stopped waiting and started acting. There's Ayo, a British-born Nigerian who launched a solar energy business in Lagos after years in the UK tech sector. He didn't have funding at first. He had a concept, mentorship, and grit. Today, his company powers over 1,000 homes. Then there's Lisa, an African-American schoolteacher who visited Ghana during a cultural exchange program. That visit turned into a second trip, then a sabbatical, then a permanent move. She now runs a reading initiative for girls in rural areas and says she's never felt more alive. Or Kwame, born in Germany to Ghanaian parents who always felt in between. After visiting Accra in his late 20s, he started a YouTube channel about diaspora life in Ghana. That channel now educates thousands and helped him build a remote content agency that serves clients on both continents. You see, it's not about being rich or famous. It's about being ready. ready to plant something real in the soil of possibility. You can start with a research trip, a remote work stint from Africa for a few months, a partnership with a trusted local in your field, a diaspora retreat or summit, or even just helping amplify African voices globally. The biggest lie is that you're too late. You're not. In fact, you're right on time. Africa is opening up, and if you don't see it on mainstream media, that's because the real story is still being written by people like you. You can be part of this movement. You can help shape a future where Africa and her diaspora thrive together, not apart. So take that first step, whatever it looks like for you. No step is too small when it's guided by purpose. And now we return to the beginning, to the why behind it all. This is not about romanticizing Africa. It's not about pretending the continent doesn't have problems. It's about recognizing the potential. It's about healing the rupture caused by centuries of displacement and distortion. It's about choosing reconnection over rejection. Africa may not be where you were born, but she is still your inheritance, your history, your future. Every time you learn an African language, you resist erasure. Every time you visit a country, you invest in dignity. Every time you collaborate across borders, you build legacy. And every time you tell someone, Africa is rising, you shape the next chapter. So don't wait for the perfect moment. It may never come, just start. One step, one conversation, one commitment. Because the continent is calling, not just for your resources, but for your presence. Not just for your skills, but for your story. Not just for what you left, but for what you can help build. The time is now, the doors are open. Africa is no longer just a dream, she is a decision. And the only question left is, will you return in body, in spirit, or in purpose? Whatever your answer, let it be bold, let it be clear, let it be real. Because Africa is not just waiting, she's awakening.